Location: Abundance Tertius, Archduke Somnambulus. I sit, my eyes barely able to focus. I am told help has arrived, but I cannot really understand. Everything is a blur, a grey and nightmarish blur. Men walk in to my audience chamber, ruffians, the most ragamuffin to ever enter my presence. But they look hard. Everything about them, their garb, their scars, their red bandanas, their tattoos, all scream of war. My men move to close around me, but I wave them away. What could possibly threaten me now? I have not slept. I cannot sleep. A thing visits me every night, a tyrannid thing. So many of my men it has killed. It watches me at night. Its saliva burns me if I drop off. It watches me. One of the men starts to talk and just stops. He takes a few steps toward me. My men flinch again, but my lack of movement persuades them I am in no danger. They do not know it is because I simply do not care anymore. Were this man to take out that lethal-looking knife at his side and thrust it into me, I would thank him. He half crouches and looks me in the eye. He then nods at me. He comes closer, so close. He even sniffs me like some form of hunting dog. He sniffs at me. He snaps back and honestly looks like he understands. But he cannot. He looks at his men one after the other and makes hand gestures I do not know. They look at me and scowl. They detest me, it seems. All turn on their heel and march out, taking my head of security in tow. The day passes. Another grey and empty day of meetings that I do not participate in. I just sit where they indicate. I do not even recognize them anymore. It has been weeks since I slept. Weeks. I know I am going mad as I try to focus on their faces, and all I see is the visage of my nightly visitor. It makes their words even more difficult to understand, with a dozen leering Xenos faces blankly eyeing me. I do not react. I have not the energy. My fire gutters out. Night comes. As always, I am undressed by my body servants. I smile at them wanly and dismiss them. I trudge to my bed, the ritual complete. It will be here soon. The windows slowly part and creak as they open. It is here. It scuttles to the ceiling, taking its place above me, staring at me, as it has done for weeks now. I look up at it, preparing for our nightly duel. Can I meet its eyes all night, or will I doze off and be awoken by a stinging spittle that it would dribble onto my arms to shock me back into consciousness? It is then that the doors burst open. I close my eyes. I know what will happen. It will kill all of my guard again, as it has done twice. But this time it is different. Very. Shouts in a dialect I do not recognize burst from the lungs of the men who are making it through the doorway. the beast on the ceiling still. They're so fast. 2 men rolling into the room and 2 standing at the doorway firing their las guns up at it. The lictor, the horror, leaps down to engage them. I prepare to be covered in human blood and viscera again. It will kill them with ease, as it did 2 score of my own men when this all started. One of the men who rolled in comes up with a net of all things, the other a huge knife like their colonel's. Wait, it is their colonel. He is with his men. So similar are they. What I next see is a thing of wonder. Holy Emperor, I have never seen men move so fast. I have seen pics of Marines do so, but not normal men. The ones at the door were firing to its sides, forcing it into a predetermined zone, it seems. The net flies up as the beast falls down. I see the beast tear it apart in mid-flight. The fools. But then, as it lands, the split second it took to perform this deed left it wide open, its clawed hands pulling the net in twain. The 2 men below are inside its garden, stabbing and stabbing as they push it back into a wall. They continue as its limbs thrash, but they are perfectly positioned to be safe from it. I do not know how, but they seem to know what it was and how to kill it. As it slows and then stops flailing, the 2 men are still stabbing it in its torso and now its face. They pull it down and continue for what seems like minutes, their blades rising and falling, covered in the viscous goo from the monster. I'm stunned. The next moments are macabre, as they collect every last drop of its blood meticulously. I vaguely remember asking what they do. I must be wrong. I must be misremembering due to my fatigue. I swear one told me that they would wear it, would cover themselves in the blood of their thing, so they could get close to the nest, a nest where others may be. I am mad. I must be. Nobody would do that. The colonel talks to me, but my eyes are on the nightmare. It is dead. I cannot hear what he says. I close my eyes. Welcome, gentle listeners. I am Baldermort, and I wish to introduce you to the forces and factions of the Warhammer 40k universe. Today, we will be dealing with one of my top 3 favourite regiments of renown of the Astra Militarum, the Imperial Guard. A firm favourite of many Warhammer fans, the Catachans epitomise the hardiness of the standard human warriors of the Imperium. It is actually rarely that the Space Marines or other elite forces are employed across the galaxy, not for a want of trying or a desperate need, but because of their relatively minuscule numbers compared to the size and holdings of humanity's vast Imperium. Thus it is that the overwhelming majority of conflicts are resolved by the standard humans of the grim darkness of the future. If you have not heard my entries on the Astra Militarum, the Imperial Guard, then now will be a good time to take a quick look so you're aware of their role and the heart of my interpretation of this sublimely terrifying setting. Now, let us lean on existing wisdom for the crux of the matter. To quote Catachan Jungle Fighters, Catachan is one of the most notorious death worlds in the Imperium, and its planet-wide jungles are lethal beyond reason. Yet, despite the exceptionally perilous nature of the Catachan ecosystem, the servants of the Imperium inhabit this vast world in surprising numbers. Catachans are physically and mentally resilient on a level that much of humanity simply cannot match. Cunning, resourceful, and uncompromising, Catachans must be born survivors simply to reach adulthood. It speaks volumes of the Catachans that they maintain a population capable not only of fighting their own battle for survival, but of sending forces to fight the wider wars of the Imperium as well. Catachan raises dozens of regiments for the Astra Militarum every year, their skills honed to a knife edge upon the world of their birth. Viewing daily survival upon Catachan as but a microcosm of humanity's wider struggle, the Death World's warriors proudly answer the Emperor's call to arms. Each regiment raised is exchanged with the Departamento Munitorum for much-needed medical and military supplies. These in turn allow the Catachan settlements to maintain their daily fight for life. This arrangement has stood for thousands of years, and though the Catachans bleed more than most of the Imperium of Man, they would have it no other way. The very factors that shape the Catachans into such exceptional warriors also leave them proud, aggressive, and insular. Individuality is prized amongst the infantry regiments known as Jungle Fighters, and only a handful of traditions are treated as sacrosanct, such as the wearing of red bandanas that symbolize the blood oath sworn by each newly founded regiment. The Jungle Fighters are notoriously dismissive of the shiny medals and gaudy attire flaunted by other militarum regimentos. Rank and status are displayed through the inking of specific tattoos, or by the winning of famed Catachan weapons such as a devil's claw. Pragmatism is key to these grizzled warriors, with a favoured tactic being to lay explosive traps before hunkering down in defensive cover. Those enemies not outright blown to shreds are quickly finished off by las fire and torrents of burning promethium. Catachan's armoured regiments are similarly renowned for the destruction they unleash. With their hulking frames, Catachan crewmen are able to heft massive shells and magazines into place with ease, allowing their gunners to lay down a near unending rain of shot. Bedecked with vines, camo netting, or splatters of concealing mud, Catachan tanks may look out of place on the parade ground, but are invaluable on the battlefield. Catachan leaders typically eschew the privileges of authority, instead suffering through every hardship alongside their troops, a great point of pride among the regiments. Many commanders can claim to have personally saved the lives of half their company. Rather than treat their men as servile underlings, Catachan officers command with crude banter that conceals an underlying mutual respect. Though inarguably effective within Catachan ranks, this style of leadership makes the job of outsiders such as commissars doubly difficult and often extremely dangerous when they are attached to Catachan regiments. Regiments of savage renown. The Catachan 18th, the Swamp Rats. Led by Colonel Gator, the Swamp Rats fought against a Tyranid horde on Coralcal 8. Although outnumbered, the regiment suffered remarkably few casualties. The teams of highly respected Tyranid hunters covered their bodies in Xenos ichor to mask their scent from the hunter beasts, allowing them to launch highly effective surprise attacks. Catachan 24th, Waiting Death. The Waiting Death are famed for their highly successful employment of traps and ambushes. Most notable of their achievements was the use of Hellmouth Gorge to cripple Warlord Crashskull's Orc Horde upon Aranda 5. Catachan 17th, Screaming Devils. During the repacification of Bad Sanctuary, Captain Thorn and his Screaming Devils lost contact with their assigned commissar during a treacherous ravine crossing. The regiment's fighting efficiency has markedly increased since that fateful day. End quote. As we can see, the Catachans hail from a world of sheer horror, a death world. But have no fear, for I shall explain the different types of worlds of the Imperium and their designations in due course. But let it be known right now that they are not called death worlds for no reason. But it is true that humanity are shown in Warhammer to be incredibly resilient and adaptable, able to make colonies on worlds that can only truly be understood in the backdrop of the most desolate and grisly horrors of our time. One would think that life simply could not exist when the vista of threats to its population are revealed, but exist they do. And like the Fremen or Sardaukar of the Dune universe, it is not genetic augmentation or magical weaponry that make them so lethal. It is the worlds on which they are raised, and the cultures that develop to match these threats are actually the source of their martial skill. Now I know, many a Catachan fan will rebel and state that I should have made their main antagonist the dreaded greenskin hordes of the Orcs. Well, to that I can only say, all in good time. We are not done with the Catachan Jungle Fighters, I can assure you. And there are so many other topics and campaigns in which we will be able to highlight these warriors' skill, tenacity, and devastating tactics. Give me a little time is all I ask, my beloved Greenskin and Catachan fans. I assure you, if you enjoy this entry, it will be well worth the wait. Now I feel it necessary to warn you that I am unlikely to bring out a substantial video this Wednesday, as I am working on what I hope is a highly requested treat for us all on Friday. If I am not wrong, this could mean a very important milestone will be reached, perhaps. So I felt it necessary to bow to positive pressure and give you what you wish. I shall conclude this entry with a continuation of my little tales, so please do watch on to the end if you wish to find out. I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. If you have enjoyed this brief first stage introduction to the Catachan Jungle Fighters, then do please consider liking and subscribing. If you do so, then please do consider hitting the notification button, as I would not want you to miss out. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Back to the story. I wake from my slumber. My body servants dress me, beaming at me all the way. I am told I have slept for 3 days solid. My mind is not yet fresh, but my body actually obeys my commands. I can walk with purpose again. I can stand tall again. I am hungry, ravenous. I eat like a gutter rat who has snuck into a banquet before it has started. My face drips with fat and the juices of fruit and wine. Instead of being repulsed, my men, they beam at me. They bring me more. I gorge. I am told my itinerary has but one activity on it for the entire cycle. It is tonight, after I have rested more. My day is filled with music, with meals, with sitting in the sun. I doze off many a time, but with relaxation. I dream. They are filled with an angry shadow, but it is nothing. That beast cannot harm me any more. Not with these Catachan warriors here. I am safe, true, but my people also. I do not know how, but I think I recall one of those rough men telling me about the fleet, our glorious navy, being dispatched, that it was a small tendril fleet of Tyranids, and that our most illustrious admiral, the one they dubbed the Border Prince, has stopped them in their tracks and smashed them. I cannot remember the specifics, but I know the threat is over. Thank the throne. My people are safe. My people will live. The night descends, but it holds no terror for me now. I laugh at the moon as I look at her and rise to prepare to meet the brave men and women who have cleansed the Xenos scum from our world. My home, my love, Abundance Tertius. I walk into my audience chamber and am met by the sight of those glorious ruffians, who at this present moment I could hug, one and all. But they are not just grim in their bearing, they are grim in their countenance. I can feel their tension. Or is it excitement? I usually know, but cannot discern it this time. Perhaps it is a blend of the two. I take my place at the head of the table, and we all sit, them and mine. My warriors not seeming to be of the same race to these hard-bitten veterans who sit alternately in each seat with mine as they look at me. My mind still reels from the events of the last weeks. These men are rough indeed, their scars and red bandanas with an acrid fog coming off them from where they douse themselves in the blood of my tormentor, all the better to hunt the secret lair of its kind and purge all within. "I hope you have slept," practically shouts the colonel in charge of the delegation. It pains my ears, but I feel no animosity. These heroes could yell at me all day, and I would still smile at them. My people are saved. He seems so much like a ranker. No real insignia of any import on him, no decorum in him. But I wait. "I have 3 pieces of information for you," I feel you may not have been able to absorb them when last we spoke before you reclined. He is right, of course. I have no recollection at all, not even the smell. Holy throne, I must have been near death or madness from the exhaustion. He continues. 1. We have cleared out the bugs and the Navy has crashed the tendril on its way here. I raise my glass and salute him and his dishevelled but gallant men with my best wine. They ignore me. No decorum at all. What place is etiquette on a battlefield? I will not change anything about them. He continues. 2. The real reason we are here is because you have a rock coming in your direction. The guests around the table are verging on wails. I put down my glass and take in a deep breath. No, it isn't fair. From the frying pan to the fire, it isn't fair. I compose myself before I slowly retort, although it comes out more like I am imploring. Pathetic. After everything, I near unman myself before my people. If abundance should fall, a score of worlds, hive worlds we feed, will die of starvation. As the murmuring amongst my people rises, I understand their fears. A rock, an orc ship. It will contain millions of greenskins, possibly a fate worse than the bugs. I feel the walls closing in on me. But stop. Something is happening. As one of my aides begins to openly wail, a Catachan brings his hands over his head and behind his back languidly, then extends a right hook, and the wailing ends as my man's head snaps to the side and he slumps to the table unconscious. Nicely done, if you ask me. Wailing. The dishonour. But the Catachans are smiling. The colonel has a twinkle in his eye as he passes me 2 seals and says, Here is a response from the Imperium. As you say, Archduke. 20 hive worlds while I had abundance tertius to feed them. I look at them, the seals, and my eyes flash as I stand. I smile warmly at the colonel. He grins back at me and merely says, Sweet dreams, Archduke, as he stands, and with his men he walks out boldly. And oh, they will be. I will sleep like a baby tonight, for I do not fear. For the first seal, it is a single emblem, a personal crescent. I know it. We all do in this sector. Major General Killian, the scourge of the Xenos, never defeated, never forced to retreat, never having given a single inch of ground to any of 1,000 Xenos enemies he has matched his forces against, known across the entire sector simply as Major Kill. But not only that, his sign would have been enough, but this, we will be safe, for it is a regimental sigil known across the entire Imperium. We will be safe. I laughed myself to sleep that night, holding both the sigil of Major General Killian in my right hand, but in my left